The ego is a bit like an invisible voice, a co-pilot that follows you everywhere. Sometimes it pushes you forward. It tells you to work harder, not to give up, to show what you're worth. But other times, it turns your life into a constant competition. And the worst part is, we don't even realize it anymore. At the end of this video, you'll understand how ego can quietly damage our relationships. You'll discover what ego really is, and most importantly, you'll learn how to control it and turn it into a strength. And that's where true mastery begins. A remark, a criticism, a failure, and suddenly your mood changes, as if your entire value depended on that exact moment. When in reality, most people don't think about you nearly as much as you think about yourself. And that's hard to accept, because deep down, we all want to be important. We want to be noticed, respected, admired. But the more you chase that validation, the further away it gets. The worst part is that today, we constantly feed our ego. Social media has become a comparison machine. You open your phone for 5 minutes, and you see someone richer, better looking, funnier, more advanced in life. And without even realizing it, your brain does something very natural. It compares. So you start devaluing yourself. You start stressing. And in the end, your situation hasn't changed. Or it may have even gotten worse. But are you really living for yourself, or just trying to prove something? On top of damaging our self-esteem, the ego has the power to ruin our social relationships. When the ego is by your side, you refuse to admit a mistake. You always want the last word. And without even noticing it, relationships begin to deteriorate. How many arguments could have been avoided if just one person had agreed to put their ego aside? Sometimes we lose important people simply because neither person wanted to make the first move. And the most ironic part of all is that after winning the argument, we often end up losing the relationship. But here's what's interesting. If the ego only destroyed our relationships, it would be easy to get rid of it. The problem is that it is also responsible for part of our successes. And that's precisely why it's so difficult to understand. And that's exactly a question that some philosophers have tried to understand for centuries. Among them, Nietzsche had a particularly interesting vision of the ego. According to him, many people spend their lives becoming what others expect them to be. They seek approval, status, recognition. But they almost never take the time to discover who they really are. And that's exactly what the ego loves. It loves appearances, masks, roles. It would rather appear strong than be authentic, appear intelligent rather than continue learning, appear superior rather than keep progressing. For Nietzsche, growing wasn't about becoming better than others, but about becoming a more authentic version of yourself. A person who no longer acts to impress, a person who moves forward according to their own values. And honestly, that's much harder than it sounds. But if you die without ever trying to understand how to fix the flaws in your relationships and in your own mind, while continuing to believe that you're always right, what will haunt you on your hospital bed won't be the illness, it will be the regrets. So, how do you stop being controlled by your ego? The first step is to observe it. Every time you feel offended, every time you compare yourself to someone else, every time you feel the need to prove something, ask yourself one question. Why does this situation affect me so much? Very often behind the ego hides a fear, the fear of being rejected, the fear of not being good enough. Once you understand that, you've already regained part of the control. The second step is to use the ego as a motor, not as a master. The ego can give you ambition, energy, the desire to push yourself further, but it should never determine your value. Build something you're proud of, not something that impresses people for 5 minutes. That's the difference. Deep down, the ego is neither good nor bad. It's a tool. In the wrong hands, it becomes a prison. In the right hands, it becomes a strength. So don't try to destroy your ego. Try to understand it, to master it, to put it at the service of your goals. Because in the end, the strongest people are not those with the biggest ego. They are the ones who no longer need to prove their worth to everyone. And maybe that's true freedom.